für die Leute, die in der E-Mobilität drin sind, die werden sich jetzt sicherlich schon denken, oho, das habe ich auch gesehen. Also da muss man schon ziemlich tief drin sein, weil das auch auf der CES war, ne? Also Consumer Electronics Messe. Das ist wirklich crazy. Vor 3 Tagen wurde ein Video hochgeladen von dem Unternehmen, das nennt sich Donut Lab. Und die haben eine Ankündigung gemacht, die E-Mobilitätswelt aus den Angeln gehoben hat, mehr oder weniger, für den Fall, dass das stimmt. Ich habe auch schon weitere Recherchen betrieben, einfach weil ich mich selber dafür interessiere, ob das sein kann oder nicht. Aber gucken wir erst mal rein, was hier behauptet wird.
Co-founder and CEO of Donut Lab. At Donut Lab, we wake up every day with one obsession: make electric vehicles so good that combustion becomes irrelevant. Not just greener or almost as good, but better in every way. Last year at CES, we introduced Donut Motors, and they weren't just a concept or promise. They were a breakthrough in physics and economics. More torque and power per kilogram, but also more torque and power per dollar. A lot of people didn't believe it, but today those motors are real. They are used in everyday vehicles from motorcycles to trucks. And more than 100 OEMs globally are currently in the process of upgrading their product roadmaps. And that brought us to the next problem. Because even with a revolutionary motor, the entire EV experience is still limited by one component: the battery. Range, charge time, cost, weight, and lifetime, all limitations. So today, we are doing what we did with the motor. We are changing the base.
Also ich verstehe, dass die Leute Zweifel haben, aber die Firma ist kein Scam. Sie kann auch kein Scam sein, weil sie schon tatsächlich Produkte produziert, ne? Also die sind schon in der E-Mobilität unterwegs. Die produzieren E-Motoren und das auch in tatsächlich eingesetzten Produkten. Das ist okay. Man kann diese Batteriesituation oder Kondensatoren oder was auch immer da zusammengemischt wurde, man kann das in Zweifel ziehen, aber das ist als Scam würde ich die jetzt nicht bezeichnen, tatsächlich. Ne? Die haben schon Produkte.
Baseline. We are announcing a new battery that reshapes the economics and the experience of electric mobility forever. It's solid state and it's going to transform the industry. And once you see what it enables, combustion doesn't just look outdated, it looks unnecessary. Before we show you the battery, we want to show you something else. What happened after we revealed Donut Motors in 2025? Let's watch a short film with some of our early partners building exciting products with Donut Motors.
The Watt EV platform technology, coupled with the Donut Lab in-wheel technology.
Also die haben halt einen Motor, der in den Reifen montiert ist, ne? Das ist dieses Ding hier.
Opens up so many possibilities to do things quickly with technical benefits that we haven't previously been able to exploit. It's a really exciting future working together with Donut Lab.
Bruder.
For our next model, the AR5, we're going to use the Donut Lab 12-inch donut motor. As well as being light in weight, it has a hollow core, and that allows us to have the load path going straight through the centre of the motor. This is very efficient structurally and simplifies our design.
Also die machen schon Dinge, ne? Die machen schon Dinge. Das mit den Batterien, das ist jetzt ziemlich also ich will verstehen, wenn man das Hass ist, aber es ist ein krank wilder Claim, darum will ich das mit euch teilen.
The Speedster has 4 17-inch Donut Lab motors, one in each corner. They're super lightweight, very dense in power. It creates extra.
Die haben halt legit null plausible Daten bisher zum Akku geliefert, nichts, nada bisher weitergewürfelte Fantasiezahlen. Das sind gar keine Fantasiezahlen. Tatsächlich bin ich da ein bisschen besser informiert als du. Aber ich erkläre das alles noch. Oh mein Gott, ich kann Drakon was erklären. Im Energiesektor. Das wird er sich nie wieder erholen von. Das ist krass. Das ist crazy. Oh mein Gott. Today is the day. Das wird fucking crazy. Ich hätte es nicht gedacht. Aber ich habe nämlich gestern erst ein Video dazu gesehen. Oh Mann. Aber wir gucken, es gibt Analysevideos, ich suche dir das gleich mal raus. Da sagt jemand was sehr Interessantes, der war nämlich auf der CES und der sagt, er glaubt nicht, dass das eine Solid-State Battery ist. Er glaubt, dass das ein Kondensator ist, ein großer. Und dann haben die nachgeforscht und haben eine Firma gefunden, die mit denen zusammenarbeitet, die einfach riesige Kondensatoren-Kombinationen bauen. Also es ist crazy. Ich zeig dir gleich das Video. Ist wirklich interessant. Ich gucke das danach.
Space for us to do interesting things with the architecture. So having that extra power, having those lightweight motors in the wheel, and having that
Das ist ganz komisch. Ja.
ability to really tune the dynamics in a way that people haven't experienced before is going to be really interesting. And we're excited to have people try the car.
So today, we are doing what we did with the motor. We are changing the baseline of battery. For the past decade, the industry has been promising the same thing, solid-state battery. You've seen the headlines, and you've seen the prototypes. You've heard next year for as long as you can remember. In theory, solid-state fixes the biggest limitations of lithium-ion: energy density, charging speed, lifetime, and safety. But here's the reality. Until
Du hast das Laufrad für nur Strohtricks. Nee.
today, there are no vehicles in
Ich werde Drakon gleich Informationen zuschicken, die seine Realität aus den Angeln heben.
115. Willkommen in
Production
10 Jahren
using
mehr.
solid-state
Danke
batteries.
für deine
Not
Streams
one.
und deine Arbeit.
not at scale, and not shipping to customers. And it's not because people are not trying, it's because every solid-state battery that's been coming soon comes with compromises. Some promise high energy density, but they cannot charge fast. Others promise fast charging, but cycle life falls apart. And some promise to improve safety, but the costs are ridiculous. Some of them can even be built today, but only in limited formats, limited volumes, and limited use cases. So you don't get a breakthrough, you get a new trade-off. And trade-offs are exactly what keep EVs from becoming obviously better than combustion. To make combustion irrelevant,
Also was wir uns jetzt hier angucken, ist die Präsentation der Batterie. Und sobald die Batterie präsentiert wurde, zeige ich euch, was ein anderer, größerer Influencer, der auf diesem CES war, Energieinfluencer, sowas wie Drakon, dazu auf der CES recherchiert hat. Ne? Der hat nämlich eine sehr, sehr interessante Schlussfolgerung dazu, die ich wirklich mit reinbringen möchte.
electric has to be better in every way that matters.
Crazy.
So we ask a different question. Can we build an all solid-state battery pack with no compromises that can actually go into production vehicles? That's the challenge, and today we are ready to answer it. Today, Donut Lab is presenting a no-compromise all-solid-state battery. Not hybrid, not semi-solid, and not solid-state-ish, but all solid-state. Engineered as a complete battery system, pack, electronics, thermal, and safety, and built to scale. And it does something no one else has done. It's the world's only solid-state battery pack.
Kranker Claim, by the way. Also wirklich. Ich kann es sogar voll verstehen. Alle super Gigabrains, die das gehört haben, gesagt, glaube ich dir nicht. Alle. Also legit alle.
That combines all of the features that the industry has been forced to trade against each other. Ultra-high energy density, the fastest charging time,
Ja.
practically unlimited cycles, extreme safety, and lower price than lithium ion. And not for one premium car or a niche application, but for every use case where batteries are used, from two-wheelers to cars to drones to robotics and to grid storage. And there's one more part, because performance
Crazy, oder? Die Behauptung ist crazy. Die Behauptung ist wirklich crazy.
alone
Die
isn't
ist
the
einfach
full
verrückt.
story anymore. The battery is also 100% green.
Ja, okay, klar, sure. Wie? Das müssen keine Kinder mehr in Kobaltminen schürfen?
Made from materials that are found everywhere, not rare materials, and not geopolitically constrained materials, which in today's world is more important than ever before. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, because if you followed solid-state announcements from the big players, you have already seen the pattern. Amazing specs tied to timelines like 2030 and beyond. And when you compare what's been promised for the next decade, the truth is, donut battery surpasses what most of the industry is still planning to deliver years from now. So the obvious question is, are we shipping this in 2029 or 2030? No.
Jetzt holt er so seine Hosentasche raus. Der Claim ist so insane. Ey, kannst du sowas einfach behaupten? Hier ist der Link zu dem Video übrigens für die Leute, die gucken wollen. Der Claim, der holt das jetzt einfach raus.
These batteries are available today.
Die behaupten, das ist verrückt. Die behaupten, die erste Solid-State Battery im Consumer-Markt verkaufsfertig an den Mann bringen zu können. Und der zieht das aus seiner Hosentasche raus.
Not just available for OEMs to look at in the lab, and not just available to prototype with, but available for real production. In fact, today we are making history, because donut battery
Was heißt Solid State? Feststoff-Akku. Das heißt, normalerweise wird viel Lithium dafür benutzt und das ist nicht so eine, das ist kein wirklich fester Stoff, und der ist besonders temperaturanfällig. Das ist also, lädt sich nicht so oft. Deswegen, also es passiert viel in der Batterieszene grundsätzlich. Und das, was wir so schon an Schritten machen, also was ich wahrnehme an Schritten, das ist schon crazy. Available Production ohne Test, das ist ja immer gesund. Rakon, ich muss dich leider jetzt hier mal ein bisschen zusammenstauchen. Bleiben Sie ruhig. Bitte bleiben Sie ruhig. Wir gucken uns doch gleich an. Bleib ruhig, bitte. Bleiben Sie ruhig. Atmen Sie rein, atmen Sie aus. Bleib ruhig. Ruhig. Ruhig.
is the world's first solid-state battery in production vehicles shipping to customers. And to tell you more about the first vehicle in the world enabled by a true solid-state battery pack, I'd like to welcome Spencer from Verge Motorcycles.
Rakon meinte heute früh im Stream, ihr bannt gar nicht so viel. Wir bannen auch nicht so viel tatsächlich. Also ich banne nicht so viel.
Thank you, Marco.
Ganze Cinematic hier.
At Verge, we do not follow trends. We shape the world of motorcycling by using technology that doesn't just improve the ride, it transforms it. Our mission has always been simple, to create the world's best electric motorcycles. And proof of that is the Verge TS Pro. It delivers more performance and more real-world range than any other electric motorcycle on the road today. And in 2025, we didn't just claim that. We proved it by breaking the official Guinness World Record for a longest journey by an
Ich muss sagen, Guinness World Record bedeutet gar nichts. So, Aussage ist raus.
electric motorcycle on a single charge. 350 kilometers, real-world riding, one charge. Then, just a few months ago at EICMA 2025, we revealed the next generation of the Verge TS Pro. More than 100 improvements, some small, but some truly category-defining. Take our new motor, 50% lighter while delivering the same uncompromising level of performance, 1,000 Newton meters. A new double-display Verge dashboard, transforming the cockpit experience for all of our riders.
Endlich können Motorradfahrer auch endlich die hässlichen Displays in den Autos haben. Ja! Endlich! Wichtig einfach auch. Ja, keine Knöpfe mehr am Motorrad, endlich auch Displays. Ja. Oh Mann, toll.
Everything sharper, everything smarter, everything more refined. But that wasn't the full story. We deliberately kept one little secret. Well, I wouldn't call it a little secret, more of a history-defining one, because as of today, the Verge TS Pro is officially the world's first production vehicle powered by a solid-state battery from Donut Lab. Let that sink in for a moment. All Verge TS Pro motorcycles will be delivered with a solid-state battery pack.
Ganz ehrlich, das nächste Motorrad von denen ist komplett aus Klavierlack. Aus schwarzem Klavierlack. Oh, das wäre wundervoll.
A motorcycle that already
Zu 100%. Es besteht nur noch aus Displays und Klavierlack.
redefined its category, has now taken the biggest leap forward for electric mobility and what it's been waiting for.
Ja.
The world famous 35-minute charge time is now under 10 minutes. Yes, under 10 minutes. In fact, we found ourselves designing a slower charging speed so riders can plug in and actually have time to drink a latte and enjoy it instead of downing an espresso and rushing back to their bike.
Sass.
And that 350-kilometer real-world range, that proudly stays a staple on the TS Pro. But if 350 kilometers is not enough for you, then we have another announcement to make. A new long-range variant delivering up to 600 kilometers of real-world range. Yes, that's nearly double the range that broke the world record. I guess we can truly say goodbye to range anxiety. And there's another breakthrough that matters just as much as charging speed and the range. These batteries are designed to last the lifetime of the vehicle. No need to baby the battery, no need to worry about charging too fast, too often, or too full. Run it to zero, charge it to 100%, every time, just ride.
Das ist verrückt. Das ist verrückt. Das ist verrückt. Das liegt aber auch an diesem Solid-State-Battery. Also das ist tatsächlich, das ist der Grund, warum so viele an dieser neuen Batterietechnologie interessiert sind. Und ich glaube, man kann sagen, es ist nur eine Frage der Zeit, bis das irgendwann Realität sein könnte. Alter, ey, seat yourself, die Claims, wir haben noch nicht die Claims, ne? Das ist jetzt hier einfach nur so eine Promo-Phase. So von wegen, ja, guck mal unser Motorrad an. Ich gehe mal kurz nach vorne zu den Claims, weil der fängt jetzt an, davon zu reden, was die Batterie können soll. Und jetzt wird's absurd.
Exclusive channel partner of Donut battery technology for the two-wheeler industry. This means that global OEMs producing more than 60 million
Nächsten
motorcycles
Monat
every year
einjähriges Coupling.
now have access to this transformative technology as well. So let's go a little deeper into the details of this new technology. Let's start with energy density because it's the foundation. Energy
Jetzt wird es erst absurd. Genau. Also alles, was da fortgesagt wurde, ist für Leute, die im Bereich des Fachkundigen, also alle, die das Video jetzt gesehen haben und die sich in dem elektrotechnischen Segment auskennen und ein bisschen was mit Batterien zu tun haben, würden sagen, okay, das klingt vollkommen crazy. Aber jetzt kommen Claims, die für jeden crazy klingen. Also jetzt kommen, da musst du keine große Sachverständnis haben, jetzt kommen Claims, die sind einfach ludicrous.
density defines range. It defines weight. With Donut battery, we set a new baseline, 400 watt-hours per kilogram. And that number matters because it changes the design envelope. It means one of two things. You can build an EV with dramatically more range at the same weight, or you can build the same range vehicle with a much lighter and smaller pack. And when you reduce pack size and weight, everything gets better. Efficiency, performance, handling, and cost.
Richtig, der eine oder andere hat schon die Schlussfolgerung richtig gesetzt. Das ist eine Verdopplung des Industriestandards. Also, das ist laut dieser Prognose wäre das eine Verdopplung des jetzigen Standards.
Now let's talk about the thing every EV customer asks
What?
about first, charging. The dream has always been charging that feels like refueling. But until now, this has not been possible. With donut battery, it becomes the new normal. This pack charges from 0 to full in as low as 5 minutes. As low as 5 minutes. And still built for longevity. Because the real breakthrough is fast charging you can do every single day for years without the battery wearing out.
Es ist, stopp, Chat, stopp. Das sind immer noch nicht die richtig irren Claims. Ihr habt die wahnsinnigen Claims habt ihr noch gar nicht gesehen. Hört euch den Scheiß jetzt an.
And this is the part that quietly changes everything. Because lithium ion has a life. Yes, you can manage it.
Das ist krank.
You can protect it.
Krank.
But it ages. Donut battery is designed differently. It's designed for 100,000 cycles. Now, that's not just better cycles.
Jetzt kann der eine oder andere besser nachvollziehen, warum Drakon so tilt ist. Wie verrückt diese Claims sind. Jetzt versteht jeder, wait a minute. What? Das sind die ersten verrückten Claims. Es kommen aber noch mehr.
Cycle life. That's an entirely different category. And when cycle life stops being the limiter, it transforms the total cost of ownership. It transforms residual value. It transforms fleets, logistics, and grid storage economics because the battery is no longer the constraint. Now, here's a limitation almost everybody lives with, whether they talk about it or not. Most batteries come with an asterisk. They perform well until
Oh mein Gott, jetzt listen, guck dir das an jetzt.
temperatures swing. Cold weather steals usable energy, and heat brings performance loss and faster degradation. And if you build vehicles for the real world, that matters, because the real world is not a lab. It's winter mornings, it's desert highways, it's heavy loads, and it's hard-duty cycles. So we engineered donut battery to remove that asterisk. And at minus 30 degrees Celsius, donut battery retains over 99% of its capacity. And if you push in the opposite direction, heating the cells beyond 100 degrees Celsius, that's 200 Fahrenheit, the result stays the same, over 99% capacity retention. This is incredible. From deep freeze to extreme heat, the performance of donut battery stays virtually untouched, delivering consistent power and consistent range across extreme climates and demanding use cases. Now, compare that to traditional lithium ion. At just 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, the risk of thermal.
So, also, das sind so die groben Claims, ne? Also, die behaupten, sie haben Solid State geschafft. Sie haben eine Batterie. Die sind übrigens auf der CES, Consumer Electronics Messe, und haben diese Batterien dort auch beworben. Und ein anderer Influencer, ich möchte daran anknüpfen, weil es so gut passt. Ein anderer Influencer war dort. Und der hat eine ziemlich interessante Entdeckung gemacht. Und das Video möchte ich mit euch jetzt anschließend gucken.
One of the most groundbreaking batteries in history has just been announced, and I'm skeptical. Which is why I've come to CES in person to investigate and ask the hard questions. It's from a company called Donut Lab, who have some interesting motors that are already in production vehicles, which is why I'm not instantly writing this off as vaporware. If their claims are true, this means that just about everything with a battery is about to be revolutionized.
Ja.
It means that electric vehicles will go far further than combustion cars, have quick recharge times, and the battery will last so long that it could become a family heirloom. So
Insane, ja.
instead of fighting over your granddad's Rolex, it'll be wondering who can get the Donut Lab battery. With a claimed life of 100,000 cycles, my rough calculations put it at lasting around 50 million miles. So what has happened to make this possible? I wanted to go and investigate, so let's have a look and see if this is really possible. I'm Ryan Innes, and this is a Zeroth Deep Dive. I've been following solid-state batteries for years now, and the first scientific publication I had was on the topic, so this is definitely something that piqued my interest. As I walked up to the stand, I saw some display batteries, which kicked off my investigations. As a quick reminder, solid-state batteries replace the liquid electrolyte with a solid electrolyte.
Ja.
This means you can have a lithium metal anode, which massively increases the energy storage capacity. This is possible because the solid electrolyte blocks these things called dendrites from growing, which grow very quickly on lithium metal anodes, and if they grow too big, then you get internal short circuits. So you end up with more energy dense, safer batteries. Early versions of them are available, but there are some limitations that make them currently comparable to standard lithium ion for the most part. Throughout the day, companies were swinging by the Donut Lab stand, asking many questions, and apparently there was about 600 inquiries about their new system in the first day alone.
Ja, der ist Doktor, ja. Der ist Doktor. Der hat auch gesagt, er hat seine erste Thesis wohl über also über die Solid-State Battery.
Now, this comes as no surprise when you consider the spec sheet that these batteries have. I'll read some of the headline figures. They are 400 watt-hours per kilogram, which is state-of-the-art. They fully charge in 5 minutes. They'll last 100,000 cycles. They're extremely safe, operating from minus 30 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius, which basically means Arctic cold to boiling point of water for those that don't use Celsius. And they are built on abundant materials, so non-toxic, easy supply chains, things like that. Basically the holy grail of batteries. So as I was walking around, I managed to talk to some of their executive teams, and I was just trying to squeeze out any information I could and look for clues anywhere, but they were being very tight-lipped on any details. Specifically, they said they will not talk about manufacturing or the chemistry. And I was like, well, that's inconvenient, because those are the two main things I want to know. This also meant I didn't get any interviews because a lot of the conversations were quite slow and drawn out, and I'd go out, do maybe a bit more research, have a look around, and then come back or ask someone else to try and get more information. So it was not really an interview, but I'll give you the overview of what I found. When I started to poke around, the first thing I noticed was that the cells and modules were on display, but these were just 3D printed mock-ups, which made it hard to instantly verify anything. This is unlike other battery companies out there who generally have their cells on display. After some of these initial hurdles with my investigation, I started overhearing an interesting conversation where they said the cell is currently a pouch cell just because that's the easiest to go to market with, but it could technically be anything they want, and they were looking at a prismatic cell. So I pushed on this one a little bit further. They told me to take a closer look at the drone that was on display, and they told me that the whole of the body could be a battery, despite it being an irregular shape. I asked some additional questions on this, and a representative there said that the battery could in fact be any shape, even the complicated shape of a snowflake. Now, I couldn't work out if this was him just calling me a woke snowflake, but it did help my investigation. See, most cells now are made using something called a jelly roll, where the anode and cathode of the battery are rolled up like a Swiss roll and put inside the cell. This is good for mass manufacturing, but it's harder when you're having solid-state electrolytes because they don't bend in the same way, and this is almost impossible if you have a ceramic one because they're brittle and will crack. This therefore hinted at an alternative kind of manufacturing, like stacking layers and pressing them together. So I was slowly starting to build up some clues, and another thing they mentioned on manufacturing was that this year, 2026, they're aiming to have 1 gigawatt hour of production capacity. And they said by next year, this could go up to 10 gigawatt hours of production capacity, which, for reference, is roughly where
Das Video sollte mich überzeugen. Das Video ist noch nicht zu Ende. Warte ab. Warte ab, Drakon, du musst warten.
the gigafactory for Tesla in Berlin is aiming. So this is huge scale stuff, and a lot from a relatively small company. They also mentioned the manufacturing would be modular, meaning that you could have a small manufacturing plant somewhere and another small one somewhere else, so you wouldn't need the massive gigafactories which help with the economies of scale of these jelly roll construction cells. I was told their first production plant is in Finland, which led me down some more interesting rabbit holes. But before that, I watched one of the videos at their booth, and it had some of the test data on it, which I was told was real test data, so I've tried to get some information from that too. Firstly, the cell is charging at 4 volts and 270 amps, relating to just over 1 kilowatt of input power, which is held for the whole experiment from 5% to 80%.
Also ich werde jetzt einfach mal permanent Leute bannen, die sagen, hier reden irgendwie von Influencer-Beef. Ich glaube, das ist jetzt auch erforderlich, einfach um da ein bisschen Struktur reinzubringen. Das ist nicht haha, hihi. Ihr wisst genau, dass große Teile von Zuschauerschaften bei Influencern drama-orientiert sind. Deswegen werde ich jetzt Leute einfach permanent deswegen raushauen. Und mir ist auch egal, ob ihr Abonnent seid oder nicht, das interessiert mich nicht. Ich denke, es war jetzt sehr lange in diesem Chat klar, dass das hier nicht der Fall ist. Wenn man das jetzt dann doch noch reproduziert und hier reinschreibt, dann würde ich jetzt dafür sorgen, dass ihr hier nie wieder was schreibt. Das ist wirklich nicht, macht das doch nicht, was seid ihr, 5 Jahre alt? Was soll das?
State of charge as shown in the video. Judging by the specs of the cells, which put it at 125 watt-hours, the C rate there seemed to be roughly in the ballpark of about 8, which seems to align with their 5-minute charging time, which would need a C rate of about 12.
Es gibt dazu keine unabhängigen Tests übrigens so. Das sind alles, was er jetzt noch einblendet, sind Daten von den Firmen. Er recherchiert nur weiter, aber das kommt gleich noch.
But I found this all a bit strange, as with a battery, normally the current reduces as you get closer to a full state of charge. I looked into this a bit more and never got any solid conclusions, but it just seems strange that they were able to charge it from 5 to 80% state of charge with constant current, constant voltage the whole time. Like, that's just not really how you normally charge electric vehicle batteries. Another clue was that the charge voltage was set to max out at 4.2 volts, which is similar to many lithium-ion cells like nickel manganese cobalt or NMC. This made me pretty certain that there must be lithium involved because that voltage is due to the electrochemistry of lithium. That's why it's 4.2 volts. So I was like, oh, that's a dead giveaway, there's lithium in there. And I went over and I said, hey guys, I've looked over on the board and it says 4.2 volts. Surely that means there's lithium. And they said in no uncertain terms, there is no lithium in this whole battery system. And I thought, that's very strange. Instead, they told me the 4.2 volts was chosen. And it was chosen because it's the best voltage to allow the cells to be a drop-in replacement for current battery systems. In fact, they told me that the cell voltage...
Elizabeth Holmes jetzt in Batterien eingeschrieben. Wie hieß die Firma damals von ihr? Tharos?
Could be chosen to just about whatever you want within reason.
Theranos?
And this was a massive clue. We now know that the battery doesn't use lithium. It can also be any shape that you want, so it's likely a stack and press manufacturing method, and the voltage can be tuned to your needs. So this is what I think. I don't think this is a battery at all. I think this is a capacitor. This makes some of the claims much more realistic, like the huge lifespan, but it makes others feel somewhat impossible. Remember what I said about the manufacturing being in Finland? Well, that aligns very well with an investment that Donut Lab made into a Finnish company called Nordic Nano. They describe themselves as a renewable energy company that offers advanced nanotechnology solutions for solar energy harvesting, energy storage, and hydrogen applications. Fellow YouTuber and battery nerd Tom Bocic found a publicly available document and pitch deck.
Das fand ich auch interessant. Tom Böttcher ist hier mit drin, der die Bötticher, den wir auch regelmäßig gucken. Und der hat wohl einen Zusammenhang gefunden.
From Nordic Nano. It includes some information about their technologies, and let's see if any of this sounds familiar. I'll leave the link down below, but it mentions interesting things like the use of nanotechnology and screen printing techniques to enhance solar and storage, designed for both terrestrial and extraterrestrial applications, presumably so R2-D2 can also benefit from these enhanced batteries. They say the technology can be used in extreme conditions, that there's no toxic materials. They often mention nanotechnology and thin film. It says that the solar film is moldable and the batteries can be printed into any shape. So here it mentions batteries, but I'm not sure if they're just using capacitors and batteries interchangeably, as we'll see. But it sounds like they could be printing material and then stacking it into these stacked battery or capacitor systems. The company was established early 2024, and the company's screen printing production facility is in Finland. The next page also shows a bipolar electrostatic capacitor with some very interesting information. It says, additionally, they offer an energy density of up to 400 watt-hours per kilogram and support over 50,000 charging cycles.
Tja, also, die sagen, sie haben eine Solid-State Battery geschaffen und das Video erklärt eigentlich, dass sie eigentlich nur einen riesigen Kondensator geschaffen haben, der aus unerklärlichen Gründen so viel Energie speichern kann.
It seems relatively conclusive that Donut Labs have partnered with Nordic Nano using some of their carbon nanotechnology or printing technologies to create these electrostatic bipolar.
Ich bin dumm, was heißt das? Großer Akku wird angekündigt, aber ist gar kein Akku, ist was anderes.
Capacitors, which they're calling solid-state batteries because they're
Ich glaube, das ist das Einfachste, was ich ausdrücken kann.
solid state and they store energy. And electrostatic capacitors are basically all capacitors. That's how capacitors work. But this kind of makes sense for some of the claims, the fast charging or the cycle life. But I don't understand how they could possibly be reaching 400 watt-hours per kilogram with a capacitor. This is orders of magnitude above current state of the art, which are also far from commercial development anyway. And I'm not an expert in capacitors. I've worked a lot on batteries, and even then I'm no chemist. But the charge profile is just irking me. I don't understand with either a battery or a capacitor why you would have constant current and voltage the whole charge cycle. That just seems strange to me. But maybe I'm missing something. So I don't know what magic dust a small startup from Finland has found around Lapland, but it must be something pretty incredible. This channel is a very optimistic place with usually better edited videos, but this is such an extraordinary claim that it requires extraordinary proof. And
das ist, glaube ich, der wichtigste Satz an dieser Stelle. Das ist ein eine verrückte Behauptung, die vor 3 Tagen einfach ins Internet gekackt wurde. Und jetzt versuchen alle der Behauptung auf den Grund zu gehen. Und das Video hier, ich habe ein paar Videos dazu gesehen, ist das, was am nächsten an etwas kommt, das zumindest einen Hauch einer Erklärung bietet. Nämlich, dass das gar keine Solid-State-Battery ist, sondern dass das so ein Mischding ist aus einem riesigen Kondensator und einer Solid-State-Battery, die auch noch mehr Batterie... Also das ist einfach Jambalaya, Alter. Es ist schwarze Magie für mich. Für mich ist es grundsätzlich schwarze Magie.
I don't want to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to give a final verdict on whether I think this is true or false. I think you can make up your own minds on this. It seems like there's a very big gap in what is currently possible and what is being achieved here. However,
ein Startup, das erst 2 Jahre ohne individuelles Patent existiert. Donut? Die machen einen Motor.
The thing that is on my mind is I have good friends, people I studied with, people I know are really good engineers working at Donut Lab, and they would not be part of something that is false. So if this does turn out to be fake, I'm very intrigued at how that came to be. And they're going to apparently be in Verge electric motorcycles very soon. So people are going to be tearing these apart very shortly. So we will find out sooner or later. And I think we should hold our horses, be very cautious, and let the next few months play out. I will say we've seen companies be fooled in the past where like an OEM or the product company is sourcing in battery cells from a separate company, and that separate company has lied to them. So the marketing material can say one thing, and the company marketing it believes that, but the cell manufacturer is lied or
Oh mein Gott, Bro.
elaborated on the truth. I really want Donut Lab to thrive on this, and I want it to be real. This is the most monumental thing that could happen if it's true. However, if someone had given me $1 million whilst we're here in Vegas and said, would you like to gamble or invest it into Donut Labs right now, I'd probably say put it all on red. All jokes aside, claims like this have real impacts on the ecosystem of electric transport and power as a whole. There's a lot of young companies or even developed companies that will now have investors breathing down their necks saying, why have you not achieved this too? And if these claims do turn out to be false, we need to hold people accountable. Like, this is going to have ripple effects that will be felt by a lot of companies.
Das finde ich krass. Das ist ein cooles Ende. Also eins der geileren Takes, die ich dazu gehört habe. Unabhängig davon, ob das ein echter Claim ist. Also unabhängig davon, ob die Behauptung, dass sie etwas haben, stimmt, sind die Konsequenzen davon jetzt schon da. Nämlich, alle fragen sich, ob das stimmt. Die sich fragen, ob das stimmt und die bei großen Firmen engagiert sind, die, sagen wir mal, selber Recherchen betreiben, fragen sich, wie kann es sein, ist es möglich, dass eine kleine finnische, gallische Firma, umgeben von römischen Giga-Unternehmen, es geschafft hat, diesen Scheiß zu knacken? Und wenn ja, wieso haben wir es nicht geknackt? Und dann werden unangenehme Meetings gehalten, Leute werden entlassen, wirklich, Leute werden eingestellt, es werden Spione nach Finnland geschickt. Das ist crazy. Die Auswirkung einer solchen Behauptung, unabhängig ob sie stimmt, die Auswirkung selbst einer solchen Behauptung, ich für meinen Teil, ich wünsche mir, wahrscheinlich ist das auch ein Ding, ich wünsche mir, dass das was stimmt. Wenn das stimmt, also nur der Wunsch, ich wünsche mir, dass das stimmt. Nicht, dass das stimmt, ich wünsche es mir. Da muss man auch vorsichtig sein mit solchen Wünschen. Man muss das auch richtig einordnen. Ich wünsche mir, dass das stimmt. Denn wenn das stimmt, wenn das stimmen würde, dann könntest du Verbrennungsmotoren einmotten. Also sofort. Du könntest sie bei einer Generation von Fahrzeugen, die mit dieser Technik ausgestattet wäre, sofort einmotten. Sofort. Den Batterien und das Problem mit der Batterie ist, glaube ich, der größte Problemhebel, den man hier so haben kann. Und ich finde es total interessant, dass hier schon Recherchen betrieben werden, die darauf aufbauen, dass es nicht eine Solid-State-Battery ist, potenziell, sondern kondensatorgetrieben. Und dass es Firmen gibt, die mit Donut zusammenarbeiten, potenziell kondensatorgetriebene Hybridbatterien erfinden. Ne? Ist crazy. Ich verteile das mal. Guckt euch das gerne nochmal an. Man könnte auch direkt alle E-Autos einmotten. Sprechen wir über Dunkin' Donuts? Nee, die heißen Donut Labs. Es sind wilde Behauptungen. Falsche Aktie gekauft? Du kannst die Aktie von denen gar nicht kaufen. Ach so, du hast die Dunkin' Donuts Aktie gekauft? Hodel, Bruder. Warte, hier ist nochmal der Link zu diesem Video, das mir noch ein bisschen mehr Insights gegeben hat zu einer möglichen. Da stehen auch die Pitch-Decks drin. Also ihr könnt in das Video reingehen und die Pitch-Decks durchlesen. Der hat das hier alles schön verlinkt. Sehr crazy. Sehr, sehr crazy. Ich bin gespannt. Ich hoffe, das kommt in den nächsten Wochen raus. Ich hoffe, es ist in den nächsten Wochen klar, ob das Scam ist oder nicht Scam ist. Ich drücke die Daumen und hoffe, dass es nicht Scam ist.